Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a phase of life that can feel pretty intense. Parenting teenagers.
Definitely intense.
Yeah, you know that shift. One minute you're their absolute hero, the next, well, you're getting eye rolls, maybe the cold shoulder.
That closeness just seems to evaporate sometimes.
Exactly. And that feeling of disconnection where things used to be easy, it can feel, frankly, overwhelming.
It really can.
So our mission in this deep dive is to explore the insights from the sources you've shared. We want to understand what's really going on under the surface with teens and, maybe more importantly, how we can respond better, stay connected, support them through all that turbulence.
And that dramatic shift you mentioned, that's really central to what these sources are looking at. One of the first sort of big points is this idea that it isn't necessarily personal.
Okay.
As one source puts it, it's not you, it's not even them. It suggests a lot of the intensity, the mood swings, the baffling behavior.
Yeah.
It's driven by what it calls puberty's remix version taking over.
Puberty's remix version, I like that. So it's biological hormonal shifts driving this.
Largely, yes. It's described as an avalanche of emotions, mood swings that just appear out of nowhere.
Okay, so if it's not like a deliberate attack,
Yeah.
what is happening inside them? Because honestly, sometimes it really feels personal.
Oh, absolutely. And it's okay to feel that way. But the sources really emphasize that behind the eye rolls, there's usually something much more complex going on internally.
Like that avalanche you mentioned.
Exactly, that sense of being overwhelmed. Another comparison used is that teens can feel like a shaken soda can.
Okay, all that pressure building up.
Right. Everything's changing for them. Bodies, brains, how they fit in the world. The source says it all feels too loud, too big, too confusing.
That makes sense.
So the snapping, the withdrawing, often it's just that internal pressure needing an outlet. It's not usually this calculated thing against the parent.
Understanding that.
Yeah.
It really changes the perspective, doesn't it?
It does. It shifts from there being difficult to maybe they're feeling a lot of difficult things.
And that leads right into the advice for parents, which I found really powerful. This idea, don't be the storm, be the shade.
Yes. That's probably the core takeaway for parents here. Instead of meeting their storm with your storm, getting louder, angrier, trying to win.
Which is so easy to do.
It is. But the advice is to offer something different. Be the shade. Provide calm, shelter, a safe space for them, even when they're in the middle of their own emotional whirlwind.
But how? Practically speaking, when you're faced with that attitude, staying calm feels like a superpower.
It does take practice, and the sources acknowledge that. Being the shade isn't just about acting calm. It's about learning to listen differently.
Listen differently. How so?
It means trying to hear past the words, past the sarcasm soup, as one source calls it.
Sarcasm soup. Yeah, I know that dish.
Right. It's listening to the tone, the pauses, the silence, trying to sense the kid who's still in there, struggling underneath it all.
Okay, listening beyond the words. What else? How do you actually be the shade in that moment?
It involves making some conscious choices, like choosing stillness instead of shouting back. Maybe trying a bit of humor to lighten things rather than being harsh. And really trying to be, as the source puts it, the ground they stand on when their world feels like it's shaking.
Being their solid ground.
Yeah. And there's even this interesting idea called distraction therapy.
Distraction therapy. Okay, tell me about that.
It's basically creating these small moments of connection, kind of unexpectedly, without an agenda.
What? Yeah.
Like a spontaneous run for ice cream, or just chatting late at night in the kitchen while they grab a snack, sharing a funny video you saw online. Or sometimes it's as simple as seeing they're upset and just saying, hey, I see you're upset. I'm here if you need me. The point, according to the sources, is putting connection before correction, especially in those really heated moments. That connection has to be the bedrock.
Connection over correction. That feels like a really solid principle. But, okay, this doesn't mean letting everything slide, right? Discipline, boundaries.
Yeah.
They still matter.
Oh, absolutely. The sources are very clear. Boundaries matter. But, and this is key, they argue that discipline wrapped in warmth hits different.
Hits different. Explain that.
Well, think about the classic frustrated because I said so, compared to something like, okay, this isn't working. Let's figure this out together.
Right. One shuts down, the other opens up.
Exactly. The goal is using consequences or talks that teach, not tear down. It's about guiding them, helping them learn to think through things rather than just controlling them. The idea is you raise thinkers, not rebels.
Teaching, not tearing down. Guiding thinkers. That totally reframes discipline. And it ties into another point you mentioned from the sources about modeling.
Yes, mirror what you want to see. It's pretty straightforward, but powerful.
So if you want respect,
You have to speak respectfully, even when you're disagreeing or upset. If you want honesty.
you have to make it safe for them to be honest, even if the truth is difficult.
Precisely. You have to make it safe, and maybe the hardest one. If you want them to feel loved, you have to show it, even when they act like they don't care.
Even when they're actively pushing you away. That's tough.
It is tough, but the insight here is crucial. Even when they seem completely tuned out, they are often watching how you handle their chaos and learning from it.
Wow. So they might not look like they're listening.
But they're observing. They're absorbing how you manage difficult emotions, how you handle conflict. It's shaping them.
That's a really important reminder for us as parents, that our actions speak so loudly then. And it takes strength, right, to keep showing up that way. The sources talk about the power of the pause.
Yes, because, let's be real, there will be days that push you to your absolute limit. Days where being the shade feels just impossible.
Definitely.
On those days, the suggestion is simple. Pause. Just take a breath. And remember what the source says. They're growing, and so are you.
We're growing too. That's easy to forget.
It is. This whole phase is a growth spurt for everyone. The sources suggest reframing your role. It's less about having control and more about creating space.
Creating space.
Yeah, safe, forgiving, steady space. The goal isn't raising a clone, a mini-me. It's about supporting them to become a creator of their own path.
Creating space, supporting their path. Okay, so let's try and bring this together. From our deep dive into these sources, the big takeaways seem to be, first, recognizing the emotional storm happening inside the teenager.
Right, that internal avalanche.
Second, making that conscious choice to be the shade, calm, connected, instead of adding to the storm.
Connection over correction.
Third, wrapping necessary discipline and warmth and guidance, aiming to teach, not tear down.
Raising thinkers.
Fourth, remembering that we're modeling constantly, so mirror the respect and honesty we want to see.
Even when it's hard.
And finally, finding our own strength in pausing, remembering that we're both growing and focusing on creating that safe space.
Exactly. And it all circles back to that core idea. It's not about perfect parenting. It's about present parenting.
Present parenting, just being there.
Your consistent presence, that's what makes the difference.
And the sources end with such a beautiful, resonant image for that presence.
They do. They describe the parent's love as the lighthouse.
The lighthouse.
Yeah. Even when teens seem totally adrift, maybe even sailing away deliberately, they're always watching for that light.
Wow.
They might not say it now, maybe ever, but the sources suggest that years down the road, they will remember those moments of your unconditional presence.
Like what?
Like staying up late for that unexpected talk, the look you gave them that said, I still accept you, even after they really messed up. That underlying feeling